Welcome to Finding Your HR Advocacy Voice, the podcast where policy meets people strategy. I'm your host, Tracy Justice, also with co-host Chris Schrader and co-host Rachel Gwynn. And each episode is designed to equip HR professionals, nonprofit leaders, and small business owners, especially those without a dedicated HR department, with the insights you need to understand how policy impacts your workplace. Let's break down the big issues, spotlight what matters most, and empower you to show up for your people and your purpose. Now let's get started. All right.
Good afternoon, Tracy.
Good afternoon, Chris. Why does it feel like it's been such a long time since our last podcast?
Well, I think it's because with this administration, it's like living dog years. I mean, there's never a day that goes by, it seems like, where there isn't something significant happening. And I think that that this pace, believe it or not, we just now crossed the 200-day mark of the Trump presidency, and it feels like it's already been a year.
Oh my, you know what? Honestly, only 200 days.
Only 200 days.
Wow. I mean, honestly, You're right. It does feel like it feels like a year. It feels like years, but
yes, it feels like a lot. And, you know, once again, I'll say, you know, as a political scientist, I think that President Trump is breaking the mold in so many different ways. And one of the things I've really been paying attention to is he has, if I'm correct in this assessment, I think he's really moved the goalpost in the sense of what the American people should expect of what a president should be able to accomplish starting like day one. Right? Because we used to talk before. Remember, we used to say, hey, you know, the first 100 days were really critical. Typically, presidents would advance like one key piece of legislation. They typically did a pile of executive orders, just like President Trump has, although his volume wildly exceeds, you know, and he's still issuing them. I mean, he issued 3 last week. And so
a lot.
And so when you look at where we were historically about what was considered fast and what was considered aggressive and what was considered possible, you know, all these other things, this is so far off of anything we've seen historically. The only comparator I really have historically is Franklin Delano Roosevelt coming in just after the Depression had started, and his 100 days and all the programs he started and created the Department of Labor. I mean, you know, just huge changes that happened. That's to me is really the only parallel I can think of sweeping. So yes, it feels like it's been a long time, but it really
a long time.
It's only been 4 weeks.
And it's prime time really for us as HR professionals or advocates within this space to really get involved, because there's so much happening and there's so much opportunity for our voices to be heard as well.
Without
and I think that without a doubt.
And if you look at the picture behind me in DC, the reason it's important for HR pros is there's nobody there right now. The Congress takes the month of August off. This is largely reflective of the era before air conditioning in DC. Having lived there for 17 years, DC is utterly one of the most miserable places on earth. In August, the humidity is brutal. The Potomac River is unkind. I mean, it's just terrible. And so everybody that can gets out of town.
That is funny. Is that how it really started? Is that really how it's?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I'm not kidding. Before air conditioning, DC was intolerable. And so they still act like they don't have air conditioning, however. And so they come, the representatives and the senators come home, and the staff stay and keep the lights on. So that's pretty much where we are. But that kind of kind of moves us into what we're going to talk about today a lot.
That's right. That's right.
You're going to do that. But before we get to that, I did want to talk about something that happened over the last 2 weeks. That
big news.
Big news. Yeah. We had a major revision in the jobs numbers, right? And so anybody that has seen you and I present know that I always start, the presentation with this level set, if you will, of what are these major economic numbers, because those are so important to DC. So by extension, they're important to us, but also they're important to our leaders and our organizations, our CFOs, our CEOs, and hopefully the heads of HR. Because these are the key economic indicators that we use to give us a sense of what's in front of us and what just happened. And so anybody that has seen me present over the years knows that I have been increasingly critical of the jobs report. And I wrote a very lengthy LinkedIn piece on this last year. But in a nutshell, my argument has been, and I'm not the only leaf on this tree. There are plenty of other economists and people far more qualified than I, who, and I've had problems with the numbers. I have never had a problem with the BLS itself. I don't call into question the integrity of the people who work there or anything like that. It wasn't that. My core argument has been that their methodology is broken, and as a result, their numbers are bad. They're just bad.
And then to talk about it real quick, what makes it bad? Because I know that we talked about it and you talked about it was like teachers, for example, were being excluded.
Yeah. Well, that was just that was a jobs report from June, and that reflected the government hiring going up. At the same time, everybody was hearing stories about government and public employment being down, and yet that was the jobs leader in June. And everybody was like, how can that be possible which is an example of what I'm talking about. When you see something happening before your eyes, and you see every day federal workers being laid off left and right. Even if a person could look at that and say, I don't know anything about how these numbers are built, but I have a hard time seeing government leading job creation.
When you hear it every day in the news,
I see it in the news that it's going in the other
cleaning
direction.
out.
How could this be true? And that was a one-time warp by the folks at the BLS to decide to no longer count teachers unemployed in the summer, but to count them employed, because the 99% of all teachers just elect to have their paychecks spread out over 12 months. And so it wasn't like they were idle. So they may not be teaching, but they're still getting paid. They're not going to jump into the employment market, right? They might do some stuff during the summer, but by and large, they don't, right? And so they recognize that, and that threw a one-time 70,000 number whack, onto that projection.
And that was for June. So then what was the recent issue then? What was the recent issue
about? So this is where it blew up. So the reality of it is that the numbers they put out on a monthly basis are a projection.
Okay.
Yeah, they are a projection. The truth be told, they don't know what the numbers really are until a month or two has gone by. That's reality, right? So they do this projection. But you would expect, since you've got world-class economists working there, that their projection should somewhat line up with reality. So they have always done and announced revisions to those numbers. Every single time they announce what the numbers are, then a couple of days later, usually a day or two, they say, and these are the revisions to the prior numbers. Well, you go back 25 years ago, the revisions they would make would be very small, inside 2 or 3 percentage points. I mean, really small.
Okay.
And as the methodology began to erode, and bluntly put, their inputs into this number are 3. They do what's called the establishment survey, and this is where companies voluntarily provide information to the BLS about the jobs the BLS has asked them to track for them. They provide this on a monthly basis. It's totally voluntary. That's referred to as the establishment survey.
Okay.
Then they do the household survey, where they literally call people and say, how many people in your household are working?
I wonder how many people are answering the phones.
I'll get to that in a minute. So
Okay.
The third one is what they call the birth-death model. Birth-death model came about in the mid-90s when the economy was just ripping. And the one thing they knew about their data, not knowing anything, when new businesses are being created like that, and you just got when the economy was ripping and there was new businesses starting every day, well, they aren't capturing that for months at a time. And so they felt the number wasn't really an expression of what the heck was going on, right? That the employment has just taken off. And so they created this algorithm to look back over time and develop a prediction of birth death, meaning how many companies likely died and employees lost their jobs, and how many new companies started, hired people. Birth, death, right? So okay. So the thing about the establishment survey is that over the course of time, it began to weaken, and fewer and fewer companies participated, and those that did started doing it sporadically, only occasionally, maybe a couple quarters a year. So that began to degrade. Then COVID hit and everything shut down.
Okay.
So when we came back from COVID, the number of companies who then picked up again and said, okay, we'll participate, fell apart.
Okay. It makes sense. Yeah.
So now you're projecting a number off of fewer and fewer data sets. Do you see where this can cause trouble?
Yeah. And that's not quality data.
Well, it's quality data.
I mean, or it's minimal.
Is there enough of it?
Yeah. It's not enough.
Is there enough there to be statistically valid? And this was my argument. I was making an argument. No.
No, definitely not.
So then the home survey. For the home survey really slid severely for many, many years because they were only calling landlines. And as people stopped using them, of course, that fell apart.
Yes.
So they finally got permission to call cell phone numbers.
Okay.
The problem is because, and they still make all these calls. They got like an army of people at the BLS sitting in DC
Bless their
at
hearts.
the BLS calling these cell phones. Well, here's the problem. As you can imagine, coming from a federal government exchange, that's a high volume exchange. And so as a result, almost all of the cell phone carriers see that high volume, call it sus, and then it shows up on the phone as an unknown caller.
Or scam, or possible scam.
No, it just says unknown caller. It doesn't.
It just says unknown. Okay.
I'm not aware of it saying potential spam or
whatever it says. Yeah.
I know. I get it from Verizon.
Yes, me too. I get it quite a bit.
I get this little thing that shows up a probability that it's a scam.
I don't have the probability though.
It comes across as unknown caller.
Okay.
But it has the same effect. How many people pick up a phone call from an unknown caller? They don't. They're terrified it's going to be a scam, so they let it go to voicemail under the theory that if somebody didn't really want to talk to him, they're either A, going to text them, or B, leave a message. If they're for real. And as we all know, 99% of the time that doesn't happen. It's the unknown caller doesn't leave a voicemail, doesn't.
No.
Right.
Or it's a half of a voicemail.
So now the housing, now the now the household survey falls apart. Not enough contributors. See where I'm going?
Yes.
So then the birth death model, not the problem with it, but, and this is part of the issue right now, remember I told you the algorithm is calculated and it does a look back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that algorithm, the birth death model, was extraordinarily favorable to President Biden because
okay.
it was looking at the 4 years of the Trump administration, which had scalding job growth, right?
Okay.
So those numbers are in there. So even though President Biden's administration was wrestling with the wreckage of COVID,
Mm-hmm.
his job numbers were robust in a way that people couldn't figure out. Well, the birth death model was giving that administration credit for the prior administration's data.
Okay. Okay. And it
Now,
seems like all administrations
nobody-
kind of ride
nobody
the
did
wave
it on
of the
purpose.
previous. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So here's the important thing to understand. When they built that algorithm, they were looking at historical data. They don't care who the president is. Okay. The economists don't care who the president is, most of them. And I don't think anybody at BLS does. But at any rate, their methodology gave credit to the Biden administration for the Trump numbers.
Okay.
That was just mathematically what happened.
Okay.
Just mathematically what happened. But that algorithm, therefore, threw more jobs into it than were actually there. There was no scalding job growth that happened right after COVID. Sure, people were called back, but we never got back to that level of employment and still have not.
Huh.
That still hasn't happened. So now President Trump gets rolling in, and guess what data set he is working with?
Okay. So he's dealing with the prior president.
4 years.
Okay. Okay.
My interpretation, and this
Mm-hmm.
is just my interpretation, when he made the claim that they're cooking the numbers or something like that, I think he said something to that effect. I believe that what he was likely talking about, and he didn't talk to me, so I have no clue what he meant. I'm just saying what he was likely talking about is this birth death calculation.
Okay.
Because mathematically, he's now getting the downside of the COVID.
The down numbers. Okay.
Because it has an historical look back. This was going to happen for whoever was president. If President Biden had won re-election, the same thing would be happening to him right now.
Okay, because it would be the same information that would be reported. Okay, makes sense.
Now, do I think that algorithm has loads of problems? Oh, yes.
Of course, because two of them no longer work anymore, right? Like.
So yeah. So this is what I mean. The whole methodology, from my standpoint, is just wrecked. Nobody did this on purpose. It isn't anybody at BLS purposefully doing a bad job. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing: it's government, and government changes very, very, very slowly. And lots of people have known these numbers have been wonky for a long time. And as a matter of fact, when President Trump reacted to this situation, the way that most CEOs react to situations, when if you have somebody who's a vice president of a unit and they just told you that they were off on their projection by 90%, which is
that what happened?
90%.
So, but did that person actually tell?
They made a 90% correction. That's why everything blew up. They made.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
Now here's the thing: they also made a 90% correction back in the Biden years, but nobody said boo. Okay, but so because again, if I will go on the record, and I've said this before, if any one of us HR pros, we were leading our units and we gave a projection to the CFO or the CEO about where we thought our hiring costs are going to be or where we thought our medical costs are going to be, anything that we're responsible for. And we projected that out for just 1 month. Mm-hmm. And then it turned out we were wrong by 90%. I think all of us would be fired.
Okay. So it makes sense. Yes.
You can't keep your job and be wrong by 90%. Now, as I said, I was unsurprised being wrong by 90%. I was unsurprised with the way,
because you were used to that's the way it's been all this time, but
they've been making
Trump's not accepting that.
corrections.
Yeah.
I've been calling foul and throwing the penalty flag on this for years, right? And like I said, I'm not the only person. And so, but President Trump responded to this by firing the head of the BLS, a woman by the name of Erica McIntyre. And she'd been in the job for only like 5 minutes. The guy who ran it forever retired. And so President Biden appointed her near the end of his term, I think in his final year.
Oh, okay.
Because
Okay.
the other guy retired. The other guy was in the job for like 20 years.
Okay. Okay. So she was a newer person too. So,
She was a
okay.
new person.
Yeah.
Now, if there's anybody who I personally am upset with, this guy who was in for 20 years, knew the thing was falling apart and didn't do anything to change it.
Complacency. I mean, yeah.
I have, this is where the businessman in me just goes, if you are wrong for all kinds of reasons that aren't your fault, I will have patience. But if your plan for fixing that is to do nothing and keep on doing what you're doing, I'm absolutely 100% going to fire you. So
then HR professionals use this data for benchmarking or so.
Well, you know who really uses the data? The Fed. The Fed.
Okay.
The Fed uses the data. And the data is important to us too, because let's face it, we're able to see where the job growth is going. Right? Because I'll tell you right now, any HR pro that is in information technology right now is going nuts because they're having to lay off a ton of people at the same time they're trying to hire another pile.
I know that we're going to talk about this under AI displacement, right? But what really, I think it confuses me, and maybe you can give me some insight even into that. Yeah. Why would organizations fire people and then hire people with the AI skills when they can upskill?
I did that many times back before I started my consulting company.
But even today, like, wouldn't it be easier to upskill rather than to?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
In tech, you have all these, the people who are losing their jobs are all the developers and everybody that was attached to the side of the business that was doing application business for desktop. And who they're trying to get are the people who can do machine learning stuff, who can do cloud security. Everything is around AI, and those aren't just apples and oranges; those are apples and elephants. I mean, those are two completely different things.
So it's a complete reskilling. It'd be a big investment in that.
Another reason they're doing it, common sense tells an HR person, "Hey, yes, take these people. They're smart enough people. Shouldn't they be able to cross the bridge over this?" So yes, some we wouldn't know how many. We wouldn't know how many, but they're very highly paid, and it's kind of hard to keep on paying them for something that you're exiting, right?
Okay.
And they don't really want to take a pay cut, but most importantly, these companies are trying to raise cash, and they didn't want to dilute their stock, and so they're slashing their payroll to free up the dollars for the investment and also free up the dollars to get these people that don't exist yet.
Okay, and that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. So then who is this new person? Okay.
Yeah. So the new person. So anyway, so she gets fired on August 1st, and everybody in DC lost their ever-loving mind, including the Wall Street Journal and everybody else. And so President Trump has nominated E.J. Antoni for the job. He nominated him yesterday.
Oh, okay.
2 days ago, the 11th.
E.J. Antoni?
Antoni.
Oh, okay. Antoni. Okay.
Yes. And he is, he's coming over from the Heritage Foundation, which is a conservative think tank, and where he was the chief economist. He's been the chief economist at Heritage, I think, for at least 5-6 years. And he has been an unceasing critic of the methodology of the jobs report.
Okay.
many of the same arguments I just did.
Really? Okay. Because I guess like when I hear you say that he came from heritage, I think to me that sounds like, is he going to bring his ideology? You know, is that whole ideology is going to be a part of it?
I don't know. And certainly that's what a
Okay.
lot of people think. The answer to that question is I have no clue.
Okay.
All I know
Interesting.
is, what I can tell you is the arguments he's been making for a long time have been very similar to the ones that I've been voicing. That's why I'm saying I go back years on this. So that's why I said there are other people far smarter than me that have been parsing this apart for some time. And he's a massive critic of that. But see, here's the thing.
Okay.
This has to get fixed. Okay, we can't have a methodology that is subject to 90% corrections.
That's true too.
Nobody can trust it.
I mean, honestly, yeah, because I didn't know that it was that incorrect when I was using it back in the days as part of my dashboard.
I know, 90%. So
that's very interesting.
So again, I'm looking at this as more of a systemic thing.
Okay.
So he has picked this guy. And so presumably he's going to throw himself at creating a different methodology that can hold some water.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Here's what I'm utterly convinced of. He either will or he won't. And if he doesn't, he won't have a job.
Oh, okay. Now, how long do you think it'll take, to even come up with a new methodology?
I don't know. But
unless you're using AI, it probably can help.
President Trump strikes me as an impatient man. So
yeah.
I don't know how long it will take, but this is a guy who's been really critical of it. So he's now getting a chance to do something about it. So we'll see.
So how does this impact HR in the meantime? Like, how should we be thinking about the BLS, or utilizing that?
First of all, I have thought those numbers weren't worth what they were written on. And that's what I've said for a long time. I don't know what they are.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I've said for a long time about the jobs numbers. I don't know what they are. It may be this, it may be some version of that. It may be more, maybe less. I don't have a clue, because I think the methodology is shot to pieces.
Interesting.
And again, I want to be very clear here and reiterate, I don't think anybody at BLS is cooking the books, but I am concerned that they have known this thing was sideways for quite some time and didn't fix it. Okay. So that and
I'm not even surprised, because a lot of organizations do that as well. So I think
I know.
So
I'm a consultant.
You're like, oh gosh, you would think they'd do better, but
I run into no. So that was the bit that's the big news that hit this week on the personnel front for the administration. And as I said, these influence businesses in terms of where they make investments or where they look to hire. And it has huge influence on the Fed. And as a matter of fact, Fed Chair Powell said, the economy looks really weak as a result of this. And so I'm not going to do anything with, I'm not sure what this means. So I'm keeping interest rates where they are. And of course, President Trump would like interest rates to be lower, right?
Mm-hmm.
Currently,
yes, yeah.
And so you can see very easily how this became a flashpoint. So anyway, that's that. So I want to make sure we took about a half an hour there, unfortunately.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and move into
the SHRM.
Your
yes. So this is really exciting, right? Because we think about it. SHRM has been doing this for 5 years, and I think this is like the fifth one. Mm-hmm. And I really haven't, to be totally honest, I haven't really jumped into it a lot. Last year we did it. Our committee in Indy SHRM, we did it. We met with Jim Baird's staff or one of his staffers. Mm-hmm. And so that was an interesting opportunity, to meet with someone. But this time, what I figured we would do is we would unpack some of SHRM's priority talking points, just so that when, as HR professionals are are making those connections and meeting with the policymakers, that you have an idea of what the talking points are, and you can look into all the research that SHRM has put together for us, all in their website. And this is, and if you search, SHRM org advocacy, and you go to the in-district campaign for 2025, you'll find all of this information. So there's a full toolkit that we can that you can download and give you all the resources that you need. But then we're also going to look at what you have, Chris, what you're using GovTrack as well to even look at some of these bills. So hopefully, HR pros can definitely use this as a resource to build up your confidence and get empowered to understand what to talk about when you're having these conversations with policymakers. And the key point that, because we've had quite a few meetings with SHRM, National SHRM, is that it's not about politics, right? And I think that we've talked about it all the time, Chris. It's not really about the politics. And what we mean by politics, you're not choosing a jersey. I'm using Chris's words. You're not choosing a jersey to put on. That's not what this is about. It's about building relationships and positioning ourselves as thought leaders in this area, so that when policymakers are thinking about, what's impacting here, the state of Indiana, they can think of us and say, okay, I've built relationships with these organizations, and I can get information from them, and we solidify our seat at the table, and that's what finding your HR advocacy voice is all about.
And it really is about policy. I mean, we talk about this all the time in advocacy. It's policy, not politics. Okay, policy, not politics. So go ahead.
Yes. So one of the number one issues. So did you watch this when Johnny C. Taylor was speaking at the Workforce and Education?
I didn't see it.
Oh my goodness. I remember just watching it and I thought, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. But when he said the education system is leaky, busted, and broken, I almost fell.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Yes, I did watch his testimony. I did watch his testimony. And no, I've known Johnny for a while. I was utterly unsurprised that he
really okay.
Yeah, I was unsurprised.
That was the first time, and I thought, oh, whoa, did he just say that? But I mean, and it's super cool to see how they're really running with this. And so this is one of the first key talking points that they would like to for us to have with the policymakers since they're back home, is the education to employment. So would this be called the E squared pipeline? Or is that how would you read that as E squared? Okay, E squared. Okay. What do you think about this? I'll read it real quick if it's too small. But the future ready workforce depends on dedicated, coordinated action across stakeholders and strategic investments at every stage of the talent journey. So we're looking at K through 12. They're looking at higher education and then underutilized talent pools. What can we say for the state of Indiana? How does this impact us here? What would you say?
So, when you think about the in-district campaign we're doing, it's not so really much the state of Indiana. It's actually we're working on the federal side.
Yes, on the federal side.
Districts, but if you think about this, what every person in any state, Indiana is no different in that regard. They always want as many people employed as they can possibly get, and they want as many people as possible participating in the economy, right? Regardless of your circumstance, to be able to do that in some fashion. And so, as far as Indiana goes, this will be very consistent with the general outlook of the state, I believe, and especially the way that the state government perceives Indiana. You got to remember that the tagline for Indiana that it uses in the public policy arena is Indiana is the state that works. Right. I mean, that's really what they say. They were the state that works. Now, part of that comes from the fact is that we have the highest percentage of our state's workforce. So again, I'm not talking about numbers of workers. I'm talking about percentage of the workforce. there's no other state in the nation that has as high a percentage as we do of our workers engaged in manufacturing.
Okay. Yes. I did see
So
that. Yes.
we are dominantly a manufacturing, agricultural, and life sciences state. Those are really our three big pegs.
Okay.
In the state, and those draw on a pretty broad variety of human capital in the state. So I think that this is very consistent with how, and indeed, I think all of our legislators, anybody that you would meet with in an in-district campaign, highly likely they have a similar viewpoint.
And, you know, and to support that, here in the state of Indiana, they have already started doing that. And I didn't think about that as you started speaking. And then I realized that I did capture some notes. But the House Bill 101 did introduce on April 25th, modernizing apprenticeships and career educations. And so yes, you're right. So that is in alignment with what we are already doing. So
right.
if this didn't go through or doesn't go through, I mean, if let's say of course it does go through at the federal level, how does it impact us, whether it goes through or not? Maybe that's the question I want to ask.
Yeah, well, hang on a second. So you said 101, correct?
1001. House Bill 1001.
I'm not, hang on. I must have been on another one. No, that's
it looks like.
Hang on. I
okay.
grabbed it. No, I'm not seeing 101.
You don't see it?
House
Bill?
Wait a minute. Workforce readiness? Is that it?
And it didn't call it workforce, but it could be, but it's called modernizing apprenticeships and career education.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. And I see youth workforce readiness 2910, but I'm not seeing.
Oh, it's the youth. Oh, okay. So I think my notes. It's Indiana Department outlines modern youth apprenticeship. So it looks like it's the youth apprenticeship.
Are you talking an Indiana bill? Indiana 101?
Yeah, Indiana. Oh, yes, Indiana. This is what we're doing in relation to that bill. So I was wondering, since we already are.
Okay. So when you think about what's going on at the federal level, because that's what we're going to be talking to our representatives about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the connection from the Indiana bill to that would be the career and technical education. That's the HR 1642.
Okay.
Connecting small businesses with career and technical education graduates. And then 2910, which is an expansion of the Perkins Act, which is, I won't go into that a whole lot. But the Perkins Act looks at the youth workforce. And so 2810 would be kind of folding in that under that piece. So those are similar pieces of federal legislation to the Indiana legislation. Yeah.
So what happens on the federal level, does that impact, would that change what we have happening here or no? Okay.
Well, it may change it, but it depends on how the bills are structured. So if legislation is structured to give employers credit for something, then the state doesn't have anything to do with it. If the bill is structured that provides money, that you can get, that can be used to support or something like that, that typically goes to the states, and then the states have the responsibility of dispersing it consistent with whatever the legislation was. So it really depends on how it's drafted and how it passes as to who has control, the employers or the state. So if it were the state, then the state is really bound to disperse it pretty much however the law was written that tells them to do it.
Okay, from the federal level.
From a federal level. So that's why I'm drawing the distinction. There is the state dollars, and how the state dollars are administered is entirely our business in Indiana. Feds don't have anything to say about that. But if money comes from DC, and says, hey, this should benefit people in the state of Indiana, workers in the state of Indiana. Indiana, here's this money, and you dispersed it based on these criteria.
Oh, so there could be two different.
The state just acts as, in essence, the paymaster.
Oh, okay. So with that, I guess what I was trying to understand is that, is there any way that what happens at the federal level, if we already have legislation here in the state of Indiana, could there be some nuances that happen at the federal level that impacts the way?
What happens is they kind of run alongside each other, and usually what the state tries to do is figure out if there's some way to harmonize that.
Okay.
It doesn't, and those bills won't trump state laws. They might be in addition to state laws, but they don't trump them. There are very few laws that are what are referred to as supremacy laws.
Okay.
The federal government just Bigfoots the state on the issue. So ERISA, the Employee Retirement Income Security Act that we deal with a lot in benefits, that is a federal supremacy law.
Okay.
So all 50 states are subject to it, no matter what they think, no matter what they want to do different, federal law comes swinging down. The feds are very, very circumspect about passing supremacy laws.
Okay. Because we're sovereign states, and so yes, and we need to honor that.
It tends to tick the states off. Yes, to your point, it tends to tick the states off.
Yes. Okay. So then I'm going to go to the AI before we go to the caregiving. So then, because you have the mic, Carrie, to show us that, so then we can look at the resources. So what about AI? Because I know that AI is a big thing. You've been training on AI. I've been training on AI, and AI is a big deal. Yeah. But the fear of AI displacing people and the AI disruption is also a real fear as well. What do you have to say?
Okay, on that? Remember how I said just a split second ago the states don't like supremacy laws? So
yes.
At the what this Congress has already passed when it comes to AI is they are not allowing the states to regulate.
That's right. That's right.
Now that point of view comes from, I think, the administration and probably a lot of people in the Republican caucus did not want some states that I won't name who would likely go into a regulatory frenzy on AI, and there was worry that they would strangle its development in the cradle.
Okay.
They passed resolution that says states can't do that. Right. For now.
Well, for 10 years. Is it? It was.
Yeah. It's 10 years. Yeah.
Okay.
So for now.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll notice they put a sunset on that one. And as someone who's been diving deep into AI, as you mentioned, I alternate between being very excited on any given day and utterly terrified on another given day.
Okay, let's talk about the being terrified.
So,
or maybe let's start with the positive first, so that people who are afraid of AI.
So the upside of it, I use it in my own consulting practice. I find it a massive time saver. It's a lot easier to have stuff written and edit it than it is to create it out of whole cloth, which is what I used to do.
Mm-hmm.
I use it for processing. I use it to help me track things. It's a definite labor saver. But they're developing it. They're definitely trying to give it cognitive ability.
Mm-hmm. The AGI.
And once they get to that, they'll be able to put that into robots, and that really unleashes it. Now, that can be very helpful to us, right? To be able to send robots in to do things who can figure things out and do it on their own in situations that would be so dangerous to us. I think back to when the tsunami hit Japan about 10 years ago, and they had a failure at the Fukushima nuclear plant. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things they really struggled with being able to get a handle on that is that it was too dangerous for humans to go in and work. And it'd been really good to have some robots to throw in there at that time if we had them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. But of course, once they can think for themselves and do things, you can't really put that genie back in the bottle once you've let it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm worried that the development, what I'm mostly worried about more than anything, is how quickly it's developing. I really
Okay.
thought we had more time. It turns out we don't. And historically, people have been able to adapt as long as they have time to do it. And I'm pretty confident that AI is going to upend a lot of things within the next 2 to 3 years, which is
I
going
would
to be
agree
too
with that.
fast.
It's evolving so quickly.
It's
Yeah.
going to be too fast for most people. I also worry that the people doing the development, do they have a real handle on it? I don't know that I don't know what they do, but it's pure speculation on my part. It's not like I'm on the inside. Nobody at OpenAI or Microsoft or anybody else is calling me up to ask me what I think. Right? So it's just speculation on my part.
Mm-hmm.
I'm merely answering your question. What am I afraid of?
No, but that's
And
really good. I think a lot of people can definitely resonate with what you're
yeah,
saying, that there's
and
this unknown.
and it's that, and so we're just gonna have to see.
So then what could happen at the federal level? Because because I've read the AI action plan from President Trump, and I did read where he was mentioning that he didn't want certain states to, prevent the development or sue somebody before copyright or all these different things. And so he felt like let's create something American. But what can we do now? I mean, because I know that I guess I'm trying to even understand what the mitigating AI driven displacement is. What can they do if there's that thing, that 10-year ban, hold, pause?
So there's no doubt there's a race to develop AI. We're not the only country in that mix.
That's right.
And President Trump has strongly expressed his desire that we quote unquote win that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, which I find also unsurprising that he wouldn't put it. I don't think he would put it any other way. So here's the way I kind of look at it. Government's not built for speed, right? Not built for speed at all. And I'll just give an example of what I'm talking about. When we went through globalization, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we went through globalization, that took about 10 years to play out, where the bulk of U.S. manufacturing was uprooted from the U.S. and sent overseas. Okay? That took about 10 years. The Warren Act, which deals with plant closures, right, which all HR pros know, the Warren Act did not get passed, got passed, but did not go into effect until about 2 years after the last of the big relocations had been done. So it finally came online after the layoffs had stopped. So that's what I mean about government not being built for speed, right? When we talk about legislation and the difficulty of passing through committees and then getting off the floor and then getting to the next house, and then what happens to it there, and then what comes back is it palatable, and can you get the votes to get anything consolidated passed? I mean, it's a tortuous process. It's a miracle that anything gets passed against that backdrop. And so I fear what will happen is that AI and the speed, it's just the speed, it's going to get way out in front before the government reacts, and by the time the government does react, they'll be late and possibly wrong. but I get back to it. I mean, government's not built for speed.
Mm-hmm. It's just not.
No.
I think, and maybe that's why Trump is experiencing what he's experiencing.
And when it tries to move really fast,
mm-hmm.
it usually gets it wrong. Right? It usually gets it wrong.
Yeah, the people aren't really. I think you kind of would have to train people to kind of start getting things done fast because they're not used to that. Or I think that's why I feel, in my opinion, I think that's why a lot of the decisions that Trump makes, disrupts everyone in DC pretty much because they're not used to that. It's like, whoa, slow down. We're not used to all this fast movement, or making change real quick. And
he's putting enormous stress on government. I mean, the last time we had anybody even attempt this was Ronald Reagan.
Oh, and that's such a long time ago. Goodness gracious.
And I that was the year I moved to DC. I moved to DC at the beginning of the Reagan administration, and the way people treated it there was just like, the Huns have come to DC, and he did away with a number of agencies and things like that, the relics of the Depression era FDR stuff. But
oh, okay, really I see a correlation there.
Comparing the two, President Reagan was a light touch in comparison to
Trump. Okay.
President Trump is just he comes as advertised, right? He's aggressive.
There's no surprises. There's no surprises.
No. He's aggressive and he doesn't slow down. He doesn't have a second gear. They just pedal to the metal 100% of the time. So yeah, and I believe that I think this is part of why he's inclined to just let AI go. Right.
What do you mean let it? Oh, you mean with just let it go. Okay, don't put so much parameters around it.
Yeah, just don't fiddle around with it. Don't get in anybody's way. Some people are going to get it wrong. There will be money wasted. Right. Let's face it. Anytime you got billions of dollars sloshing around investment like there are in AI, you're going to get it. Right. So anyway, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, real quick for the policy solution. So they're saying boost funding through the WIOA and then create AI training tax incentives. So I know we've talked about WIOA quite a bit. So, that's something that
Workforce Innovation Act. So
yes,
I was kind of surprised to see WIOA there because they basically folded the bulk of WIOA into the BBB Act.
What do you mean by that?
Well, a lot of the stuff that was in WIOA got put into the Big Beautiful Bill.
Oh, OBA, I think that, yeah.
Yeah. So there are components of it that weren't. I suppose that's what they're talking about here. But
okay.
In the main, they kind of cemented that in. So I'd be disinclined to talk about WIOA, but
okay,
I'd have to look more into that to figure out what components of it they're talking about. Because like I said, there were components that were in the BBB. So.
And then another quick question. So Section 127, I think I read an article from SHRM talking about Section 127 of the IRC?
Section 127, basically, the big news there, they expanded it and they put the funding on an automatic escalator. So basically, it's going to be tied to inflation and it's just going to go. And I was so delighted to see that because I can't tell you how many trips I made to DC over the last 20 years.
For that?
I was asking for that bill for an increase in the amount of money and the ability to use it. So the big thing with Section 127, I thought, they dramatically increased the amount of money that employers could put into it. They put the amount on an automatic escalator, and they freed up employers to use that money to pay off student debts of their employees.
Oh, student debts as well. Okay.
Yeah.
You
so
know,
that
did
was
we
in
talk about it for the?
BBB. So that was
Oh,
in the
that was part of the BBB. Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
then how would that work with WIOA?
So
Because it looks like there's funding. Okay.
Here's where the confusion comes in. So
Okay.
So there were components in the BBB that SHRM has been fighting for years, decades, and they got cemented into that bill. So
okay.
those are there. So a lot of the other stuff we're talking about here is standalone legislation, but I want to go ahead and talk about, because you have it up on screen now.
Yes.
Because we're running out of time. I want to show this is GovTrack. This is a site that I use it's a free service. I just have it bookmarked, and it's what I use to track legislation. So I just called it up here and I plugged in HR 236. This is the Credit for Caring Act. This is one of the pieces of legislation that SHRM would like us to talk to our representatives about when we're doing our in-district visits.
Yes, and for the caregiving.
Yeah. So you can see here, you can track the bill, which is what I usually do. So I just track it so that way, if there's any action that occurs, co-sponsor added, something like that, then I get an alert. I get an email because I'm too busy. This is not a full-time job, right? So who has time, right? So I track the bills automatically and just say, hey, you let me know if anything happens. I don't have time to follow this. Here you see the sponsor and the status. This is Mike Carey. He's from Ohio 15, a Republican. And so he is the sponsor. This is also the term here used on the Hill is he is the one carrying the bill. Yes. It's his responsibility to ideally get it passed. You can see it's in the 119th Congress. It has been introduced in March 11 of 2025. And so this is the Congress that has to be passed in. So between 25 and 27, this bill has to be passed or it will die. And if he wants it again, he'll have to reanimate it in the next Congress.
In 120.
Pardon me?
Okay. In 120th Congress, that's when.
Yeah, the 120th, right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we're in the 119th. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
No, you're fine, you're fine.
So then here you see the status. It was introduced on March 11. Here you can see the co-sponsors, 59 co-sponsors so far, 30 Democrat, 29 Republican. This is remarkably bipartisan. And you can see here the prognosis of it being passed is 0.
So what's your insight on that real quick?
Well, first of all, the prognosis of most legislation getting passed is 0 because so little does.
Okay.
Out of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bills that are introduced, most of them just won't be able to make it through the mill of getting through committee, then getting off the floor, then getting into the next body, then getting through that committee, then getting back off the floor of that one. If there are differences in the bill, getting those agreed upon, getting those voted on again, going to the president and the president signing it. That's just a lot to ask for anything. Now, I think part of the reason why this is 0 is because this involves a tax credit. Okay, so this is money. And this is why the bill has been assigned to the Ways and Means Committee. Okay. So the Ways and Means Committee is the one, if you want money, you're going to Ways and Means, right? The reason I think this is at 0 is they just passed the BBB, which has a ton of tax breaks and credits in it, and they still have to get the pay-fors done. So you see here, the Republicans are doing this through rescission. So rescission means they're going to go and cut out expenses. So they did one rescission a few weeks ago. And that's when everybody, it was in the news that they had cut out federal funding for NPR and PBS and all these other things, right? So
Oh,
that
wow.
was
I missed
part of
that in the news. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that
Oh,
was part of the rescission vote. So they're now cutting expenses out to help pay for the BBB. And so
okay.
they're going to have to do another rescission that is even bigger, and that's coming up in the next 2 weeks.
Oh
So
my
I
gosh.
think
What do you
the
think is going to
reason
be on the
it's at
chopping block?
0 is this is asking for more money, and they just did a bill that has a
Okay.
lot of money in it, billions in it. So I think that's part of the issue. This just didn't make the cut to get into the BBB like a lot of other things did. So I think that's
Okay.
why that's 0. But be that as it may, right?
Uh-huh.
Just because a bill is chances of passing 0 now doesn't mean it's 0 next year.
That's
Doesn't mean
true.
it's 0 the year after that. And so it can take a decade to pass a bill. I worked bills for 10 years, easy. So it just takes a long time. So here you can now, this is what I think is very valuable for me, especially for in-district visits. So you can go to the co-sponsors. Why isn't that loading?
Do you already have it pulled up on another tab?
No, there we go.
No. Okay.
My bad. Okay.
Okay. And it's
So here you see
govtrack.us.
the co-sponsors. Now here you see the Ways and Means Committee. This is what's referred to as the referred committee. Okay.
Okay.
Now, sometimes they get sent to more than one committee. Pretty rare, but it does happen. So there's only one here. This isn't Ways and Means. And so everybody here is a co-sponsor, except for Kerry, who is the sponsor. He's the guy carrying the bill. So you
Okay.
can see here, here's the primary, and here's the original co, Linda Sanchez, a Democrat out of California. So these are the originals. Now
Okay.
here you see all these people on March 21.
Mm-hmm.
That's the day the bill was introduced. So these are the people who hopped on early. And
Okay.
when we were talking earlier, I wanted to point out how bipartisan this bill is. Nicole Malliotakis is an extraordinarily conservative representative from upstate New York, and she's on this bill.
Now, you know that because of your experience. How
Yeah.
would a new person, would that be easy for a new person to
No, you
no,
have
okay.
to read a lot.
Okay. Okay.
You
Okay.
have
So
to
then we
read a
appreciate
lot.
that. We
You'd
appreciate
have-
that knowledge.
You'd have
Yes.
to read a lot. So I just happen to know that, but I'm just saying that these are not the normal set of people you would see on a bill.
Okay.
Which
So that
tells me-
means something.
Which tells me it's
Yes.
a pretty good bill. So then here
Okay,
you see
okay.
people coming on Ways and Means. So here you see Jason Smith is the chair of the committee. See that? He's a
Mhm.
representative from Missouri 8. He is not a co-sponsor, but he is the chair of the committee. So the folks in Missouri, the SHRM folks in Missouri, should be visiting him and asking him to sponsor that bill, because if they can get him to sponsor the bill, odds are real good it will come up for a vote.
Chris,
See what I
honestly,
mean?
you know, right there, that is supreme strategy on how to really think about
Yes.
that.
Yeah,
Like-
it's because getting out of committee is very different than getting off the floor. The committee is a group of people voting for
That's
it.
right.
The floor is everybody. So committees are easier to work than the floor, because the floor is just a knife fight. So anyway, so you've got, and then here you have here's a Democrat, the ranking member on the party. So the way that it works, the party that is in power runs the committees. So they are the chairs. And then the ranking member in the opposition is there. And the ranking members get a lot of deference, right? And
So would it mean anything if Neil would?
You got to get Neil.
Okay.
The people in Neil's district, he's Massachusetts 1. So the SHRM people in Massachusetts 1 should be working him to get him on the bill. You need these two people. You really do. You need to get
Okay.
them there, and you need to get the ranking member, because the ranking member can get the other members to fall in line. Right. So
Is that the whip?
no. So
No,
the whip
okay.
is the whip is different. That's
Okay.
a role, but it's the same logic.
Okay.
You're correct in the logic. You would want them to lean on it. So here you see everybody here, if it's a no, then they're not on the bill. And if there's a date, that's the date they signed on to the bill.
Okay.
So I always use this because I never wanted to be embarrassed going into a representative's office and say, hey, I would really like you to support this bill, only to find out that they're a co-sponsor on the bill. That's really embarrassing.
That is embarrassing. And I'm happy that you brought that up.
Like you're not prepared. So
that's right.
So what I always do before I ever make a visit in an office, I always pull up the stuff to make sure that they're not a sponsor. Because if they are, and I go in, I'm still going to talk to them, but I'm going to thank them.
You're going to thank them. Thank you so much for sponsoring this bill, and then kind of reiterate how it would, be helpful.
That's right. And it's important to do both. It's important to ask. It's important to thank. If you're always going in with your hand out, it's never a good look, right?
And that's why it's about building relationships for sure. Yes.
So here you have Rudy Yakum. He is from Indiana too. So that's up north.
Mm-hmm.
And he is not on the bill yet. So anybody that's watching our podcast that's in Indiana and you're in Indiana too, you need to go visit Rudy's office this month.
That's right.
And go in and ask for him to, your ask is that he co-sponsor this bill.
I love that. So then if you were to click on Rudy Yakum's, would it show exactly where his area?
So here we are. So this shows you Rudy. He's in Indiana too. He's a Republican. He served since November 14, 2022. The reason for that, he went in originally to fill out the term of Jackie Walorski, who was killed in a car accident.
Okay, yes.
And he was home visiting her district. It was really tragic. Her district director was killed, and two of her staff.
Wasn't a staffer?
Two staffers from D.C. were killed too. So Rudy used to be her campaign finance guy.
Oh, so okay.
He was selected by the Republican caucus, Republican committee rather, in two. They selected him, and then he subsequently won the special election, and then he won the general election. So you can see here he's up in 2026.
And you can track him. That's super cool.
He's 41 years old. And so here he is on, this is his official website. So this takes you to his district site. So if you want to know and say, hey, wait a minute. So here you can request a meeting with him. You can do all of that. But this is always good because when you go down here, you'll see where the offices are. And he has two. So he is in Mishawaka and he is in Rochester. So these are the phone numbers.
Okay.
This is where they're open, and this is the address. So if you wanted to set up a meeting, you would call those offices and get it set up.
See, this is really, really helpful. This is a great resource. So you can go to govtrack.us, go into that search field, put in the legislation bill that you're looking for.
And you can do this for all of them, right? And then open secrets is you want to know where his money's coming from. There you go.
Oh, snap. Wait, what?
So
okay.
Anyway, yeah.
So then what's the other one?
Here you see a dot analysis of where he sets kind of where he is on ideology. So you can see here that he is sitting right back here, pretty conservative guy.
Okay, so
he's in this quartile.
Because he's in that quartile, because it's kind of small. So I guess I can definitely look on the website.
These are the Democrat votes back here. So you can see.
So those are the people that voted for him as well.
Well, notice he's not out here. He's not out here. Most Republicans from Indiana are kind of right in here. They're just a little bit. They're kind of just to the right of center as a general rule.
Okay.
In my experience.
Okay. So, no, this was very helpful.
Yeah, but this is how you find him. And so you'd want to talk about this bill and say, hey, I notice you're on this committee. And again, those votes are important, because if it gets called for a vote in the committee, that's all about getting votes.
So okay. So then just to make sure that I'm following. So maybe, like, for example, Jim Baird, he's not on any of the committees that are like workforce.
I would not talk to Baird about that bill.
Okay.
Now, I would say to a staffer, listen, this is what's cooking over in Ways and Means.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere near a vote yet. None of that stuff. I used to say this all the time. I'm just putting it on your radar. Here's what it is. But Baird's office doesn't have a vote on this committee.
No.
So that's the worst thing to do. Walk into an office and say you want their vote, and they're like, we're not on that committee.
Exactly.
Now, if it goes to the floor, then yeah. Now
that's why
calling Baird's office and you're saying, hey, we'd like your vote.
Okay, this is very, very, very helpful. Okay,
but it all starts with a committee. It's got to get out of committee. And so the reason it's important to get your people to sponsor a bill, because if they're sponsoring a bill, that means they're going to vote for it if it comes up.
Okay.
And so you want those sponsors to go, because it's one thing, I'll go back. So let's say, remember when I said how important it was to get Jason Smith?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, if we in SHRM start working all of these Republicans who are not on the bill yet, right? Then, and they start stacking up, it's going to be pretty hard for him not to sponsor it, because everybody in his own caucus is hopping on the bill. So generally speaking, these folks will sit back
and wait
and
see.
Wait, because they don't want to overly influence their caucus. Now, sometimes they'll Bigfoot, right?
Okay, so, of course, if they need to. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So let's say it's something that you've got a bill and the president really wants it, and you're the chair of that committee.
Well, you better Bigfoot it. Okay, I like that.
That's
funny.
You better Bigfoot it. But mostly they don't. They don't. But in his office, you'd want to talk to him about how important it is and all these other things, because you want him to be positive toward it.
Okay.
Right? Now, if the rest of his caucus, boom, 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 start signing up, well, he's going to be favorable.
Okay, so then a question, because I know that we're going over time, but I just want to, I think you brought up something, so now I want to make sure I clearly understand. So the legislators, the policymakers that we're connecting with, because they're within our district, if they're not on the committee, then we don't necessarily, we're not asking them to vote for it, but maybe.
You don't ask them for the vote. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and I checked this bill, and the only representative in Indiana
is Yocum.
Ways and Means is Yocum. Yeah, is Yocum.
Interesting. So then we would just leave behind materials with the staffer.
You do the leave behind. You talk about why it's important, and then what I always said was, I'll keep you posted on the bill, and if it starts moving, right? So if it starts moving through committee, if it looks like it's going to come for a committee vote, then I'll go ahead and touch base with you again. And that's what I always used to do, because it gets out of committee. But here's the thing, just because you get out of committee doesn't mean you get a floor vote, because now it means the Speaker of the House has got to bring it up for a vote. And that's a whole other bag of cats.
So it's checking the calendar and kind of seeing where the status is and kind of
what other legislation is locked in there. And plenty of time I've seen good legislation die, just like it did in the Indiana General Assembly this year. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Good legislation that died because they just ran out of calendar to hear the bills.
Okay. And it still has the same amount of time. Is it the same logic with the 2025 to 2027? Is it the same logic?
Well, it's years. I mean, the Indiana session is months, but But yeah,
Okay.
it's been years.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's still, you got to get it to the floor, right?
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, honestly, Chris, thank you so much, because this part this was very, very, very helpful, because I had questions, but I didn't realize that I really had a question until you mentioned that.
This helps you come across as really sharp and plugged in about how things work.
Yes. Can't you see? I'm really excited. I'm like really pumped up, because now I'm like, okay, let me go look at this now.
It's free.
And it's free. I wonder if they have an API to access from, but yeah. Okay. So then thank you so much for that, Chris. Honestly, I'm just really pleased with that, because like I said, I'm going to go play around with govtrack.us to learn a little bit more about that. But hopefully, so what I'll do is, we're definitely going to share this with the rest of the HR pros, especially chapter leaders, to learn a little bit more about how to go about this process. I've reached out to a few policymakers. I haven't really heard back, except, we're going to get back in touch with you. But as soon as those dates are finalized and I get the okay, then I'm going to let people know that they can be a part of that if they want to join as well. But I really think that this episode is really helpful for those that are really wanting to get out there and get comfortable with this process. Definitely watch this and use GovTrack.
This is a very easy way. It aggregates all your information. It's easy to follow. You don't have to know politics back and forth. This gives you enough.
It does.
To be competent in your meetings, and you can feel a lot more confident going in if you have information like this.
And this piece is nowhere else. Like, no one else is giving this strategy that you just shared, Chris. So honestly, this is valuable.
Yeah.
Because we have the SHRM site, of course, and that's helpful. And we have, all the other sites, but no one has said this.
Yeah. And I would say anybody that's watching this podcast, or I know a lot of people watch it on LinkedIn when we post it there, but if anybody has any questions about scheduling a visit, how you do that, if you want guidance for being prepared going in and how do you conduct it or things like that, just reach out to either Tracy or I, and we'll be happy to guide you.
Yes, definitely, for sure. We went over, but this was definitely worth going over the time limit. Thank you so much. And everyone, you have a beautiful day. All right, bye. Yes, that's right. Next month, second Wednesday of every month. All right.